Hello, this is the first part of Road to Damnation. Now, I just want to give a little disclaimer here first. I'm a little new to this, so there's a few weird cuts here and there. Therefore, I will continue to improve in the future. So, without further ado, let's get to it. This continual harassment grows tiresome. I was in the midst of important studies, delicate magic that requires weeks of preparation and ritual. Kel'Thuzad had been forced to wait for hours, fuming at the insult, before he was permitted the bare courtesy of confronting his accusers. The group's apparent spokesperson, Dredden and Madeira, had long been two of his most vocal critics. Nonetheless, they would have not launched this latest inquisition without support from Antonidas, who had yet to show himself. What was the old man up to? Dredden snorted. That's the first time I've heard your sort of magic being called delicate. An ignorant opinion from an ignorant man, said Kel'Thuzad with cold precision. A distant voice spoke to him then. The voice of a friend. By now its remarks had grown so familiar that they felt like his own thoughts. They fear and envy you. After all, thanks to this new course of study, you are continuing to gain in knowledge and power. There was a sudden flash of light, and a scowling gray-haired archmage appeared in the hall. A small wooden chest was stuck under his arm. I would not have believed it if I had not seen it myself. You have abused our patience for the last time, Kel'Thuzad. The venerable Antonidas graces us with his presence at last. I had begun to think you had fallen ill. Age frightens you, doesn't it? Antonidas snapped. You realize there's only one alternative. Let him think so, if that comforts him. Calming somewhat, Antonidas said, As for my health, you need not have concerned yourself. I was merely busy elsewhere. Searching my chambers for evidence of forbidden magic? You should know better. True, your chambers bore no such evidence. The warehouses you own in the Northlands, on the other hand, Antonidas gave him a disgusted look. Damn the man for his self-righteous snoop. You had no right. Antonidas tapped his staff to the floor, silencing him, and turned to the other magi. He has turned the buildings into laboratories for a series of fall experiments. See for yourself, colleagues. Behold the fruit of his labors. He opened the chest and tilted it so that all could see the decaying remains of several rats. Two were still scrambling clumsily at the sides of the chest in a vain attempt to escape. Several magi bolted to their feet, and there was a hubbub of dismay. Even the golden-haired high elf who had been sitting in the back of the room seemed startled, though Prince Kel'Thas was a man whose age made that feat nearly impossible. Turning back to the captive rats, Kel'Thuzad said they had collapsed and stopped moving. Another set of failures, apparently. No matter. Someday, he would create a stable, undead specimen. His hard work would be vindicated. It was only a matter of time. There are loose threads in the spell that silences you. Shall I show you how to unravel them? Time and his unknown ally, whose enigmatic voice occasionally helped him to move one step closer to his goal. Show me, he thought. A young woman arrived in another flash of light. As she went to stand by Antonidas, the high elf's gaze followed her with troubled, brooding intensity. But Jaina Proudmoore took no notice. She was utterly focused on her duties. The handsome prince didn't stand a chance. Her vivid blue eyes spared Kel'Thuzad a curious glance. She took the box from Antonidas, who explained, My apprentice, see to it that the chest and its contents are incinerated. The woman inclined her head and teleported from the room. Across the room, the high elf frowned at the spot she had vacated. Under other circumstances, Kel'Thuzad might have found the silent drama amusing. However, Left unchallenged, Antonidas was continuing his tirade. Mutely seething, Kel'Thuzad resumed his efforts to free himself. We have permitted this state of affairs long enough, rubbed his knuckles occasionally for his more questionable pursuits, tried to guide him. But now we find he has been practicing evil magic. The name of the Kirin Tor is fast becoming a curse on the lips of the local villagers.
You lie!
Kel'Thuzad burst out, and few of the Magi were his again, waiting for him to offer an explanation.
Peasants remember the Second War just as well as we do. Say what you like about the orcs. Their warlocks wielded great power. Power against we had little precious defense. We have an obligation. We must learn to wield and counter this magic ourselves.
To form an army of undead rats? Their unnatural existence measured in hours? Antonidas asked dryly. Yes, my boy, I found your journals too. You kept quite detailed records regarding this abominable enterprise. You cannot mean to use these pathetic creatures against orcs, assuming, of course, that the orcs should ever emerge from their current lethargy, escape their internment camps, and somehow manage to become a threat again.
Being younger than you hardly qualifies me for boyhood, retorted Kel'Thuzad. As for the rats, they are the gauge by which I measure my progress. It is the standard experimental technique.
A sigh. I am aware that you spend most of your time in the north these days. Your increasing lengthy absences have caught my attention in the first place. Yet even you must have heard that the king's new tax has given rise to civil unrest. Your selfish pursuit of power could incitate the peasants to revolt. Lordaeron would be engulfed in civil war. He hadn't known about the tax. Antonidas must be exaggerating. Besides, true magi should focus on the matters of great substance.
I will be more discreet,
he offered, gritting his teeth. No amount of discretion could possibly hide the secret of this magnitude, said Dredden. Madera added, You know that we've always walked a fine line in order to protect our people without becoming a danger to ourselves. We dare not sacrifice our humanity, not in appearance, and certainly not in truth. At best, your methods would see us condemned as heretics. It was too much.
We have been called heretics for centuries. The Church has never been fond of our methods. Such sentiments notwithstanding, we are still here.
She nodded. Because we avoid dark magic, which leads to corruption and catastrophe.
Because we are necessary.
Enough! Antonidas sounded weary. To Madera and Dredden, he added. If words alone could have reached him, they would have done so by now.
I have heard your words,
Kel'Thuzad said in exasperation.
Merciful gods, I have heard them until I'm sick of them. It is you who will not hear mine, and put aside your antiquated fear.
You mistake our purpose here today, interrupted Antonidas. This is not a debate. At this moment, your properties are being thoroughly searched. All items tainted by dark magic will be confiscated and, once identified to our satisfaction, destroyed. His nameless ally had warned him this might happen, but Kel'Thuzad had not believed. Strange, he felt almost relieved that the events had come to this pass. The need for secrecy had limited the scope of his work, hindered his advancement. In light of the evidence, Antonidas said heavily, King Theranos has agreed with our judgment. If you do not abandon this madness, you will be stripped of your rank and holdings, and you will be exiled from Dalaran. Indeed, from all of Lordaeron. His mind racing, Kel'Thuzad bowed and left the hall. Doubtless the Kirin Tor were keeping his so-called disgrace quiet, fearing repercussions should his actions become public knowledge. For once, their cowardice would work in his favor. His wealth would never line the king's coffers. And there you have it. I hope you liked it. I will continue to make more in the future. In the meantime, subscribe, like, do all the things you do with the video, and have a good one.